Hey guys, it's Dr. Hansen with Hansen Health Solutions, and today I'm going to give you 5 tips for a healthy and optimized metabolism. Number 1, that would be to focus on your thermostat. Your metabolism is actually a set point. Most people think that it's something that they inherited or that's out of their control, but the reality is you can set your metabolism similar to the way you set your thermostat. What you need to understand is that once you've set that thermostat, the house or the air conditioning unit is going to be working proactively to keep things at that point. What people often end up doing is they don't realize that they can change that set point, and so they focus on things like opening the windows or starting a fire in the fireplace to try and change the temperature. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is once that thermostat realizes that the house is heating up, it kicks on the AC and starts working against your efforts to bring things back to that set point. So again, tip number 1 is focus on the set point rather than everything else. Let the house kind of take care of itself. You just work on setting that level exactly where you want it. Tip number 2 for healthy metabolism, this would be to focus on your calories. Think of your calories like your budget or your metabolic spending. If you say make $1,000 a month, then you're going to budget accordingly, and you'll spend only that much. But imagine if then all of a sudden you get a pay decrease and now you're only making $500 a month. Well, immediately you're going to cut spending. This is where your basal metabolic rate comes in. That's just the amount of kind of spending or money required to just keep things, the basics, working for you. So if you were to just sit around and not do anything all day, to beat your heart and breathe your lungs and for you to just be conscious, it takes calories, it takes currency. So that's your basal metabolic rate. The thing to understand is that if you limit your calories, and you will lower your basal metabolic rate, because especially if you drop those calories below your BMR, your body will make a budgetary cut, and not only will you have less energy to go and exercise or work or deal with the kids, your body will have less energy to just run its normal functions. Now the same thing works in reverse. If you increase your calories, especially if you give your body some discretionary spending above your basal metabolic rate, then actually you will start to move that set point up as your body has more currency, more energy with those extra calories to spend on running your body, but also on doing whatever it is that you want to do throughout that day. So again, tip number 2, make sure that you're getting enough calories. Okay, tip number 3 for a healthy metabolism. Speaking of calories, make sure they are good quality calories from good quality sources. For most people, that means they're going to drastically reduce the amount of carbohydrates that they're consuming. They're going to moderate their proteins, and they're going to increase their healthy fats. Now that's for most people, but for everyone, we need to drastically reduce, in fact, eliminate processed foods, refined sugars in particular. We need to stick with real food. So again, tip number 3 for healthy metabolism, focus on the quality of your calories and eliminate fake and refined foods, particularly the sugars. Okay, tip number 4 for healthy metabolism. We talked about your metabolic thermostat. Understand that once you set that thermostat, your hormones are what the thermostat uses to keep everything in check. So again, if you opened up a window and it was hot outside, your thermostat would use hormones, so to speak, to turn the AC on and try and lower that temperature in response. Hormones, in particular with your metabolism, the 2 that are going to have the worst effect would be insulin and cortisol. Insulin is actually going to be in response to carbohydrate intake, especially sugars and refined sugars. So we kind of already addressed that with tip number 3. But cortisol is your stress hormone, and that's what your body utilizes in response to various stresses, physical, emotional, chemical, etc. The best way to regulate your cortisol levels, balance out your hormones, and let your body have the freedom to maintain that set point wherever you put it, the best way to do that is actually with sleep. There's lots we could talk about with sleep, but just remember you need to get enough sleep, you need to get quality sleep, and you need to get consistent or regular sleep. So sleep is actually fantastic for your metabolism and regulating cortisol, balancing out hormones. Focus on that sleep. That's tip number 4 for a healthy metabolism. Okay, tip number 5 for a healthy metabolism, fasting. Now, there's lots of different ways to fast, lots of different approaches, and I would definitely recommend, if this is something new to you, that you have professional supervision. But one of the best ways to start improving your metabolism is actually to focus on when you are eating, not necessarily just what you are eating. And so most people, for example, they'll get up, they'll have breakfast, then they have lunch, and then they have dinner, sometimes fairly late. What that means is if you started eating at, say, 7 a.m. And then finished dinner at 8 p.m., you had a feeding window of about 13 hours. That's quite a long time. One of the best things for your metabolism is to start bringing that feeding window in, squeezing it little by little. Say, for example, you didn't have breakfast, and then you had lunch at 12, dinner at, say, 6. Well, now you've squeezed those 13 hours into about a 6 or a 7 hour feeding window, and that is amazing for your metabolism. All sorts of great benefits there, and you'll feel fantastic. So tip number 5 would be fasting. In particular, start to squeeze in the hours of the day where you are feeding. That would be closing your feeding window. Tip number 5 for healthy metabolism, fasting. Okay guys, that's it. 5 tips for healthy metabolism. I'm Dr. Hansen with Hansen Health Solutions. Hopefully that helped, and if there's anything else we can do for you, just let us know.